not used in that year, you and I and Mr. Brown and everybody sitting up here except Mr. Perry would have voted to put it back in the general fund, because that's the only way it could have got back in there.
Well, I'd just like to see the minutes. I don't remember voting for it to go back in the general fund. And if I may make another motion, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that that $500,000 be appropriated to start construction for that particular building once it's placed on that property.
I'm a little confused, Mr. Marshall. Specify what you're saying again?
What I've asked, that the $500,000 that are allocated for recreation for my district, that money be appropriated to construct that building on the 8.12 acres of land.
The building that we're talking about that's on the ground?
Yes. The building might not be completed in one phase and whatnot.
But do it in increments.
Industrial park is not done in one day, one phase. You got 5 or 6 years stretched out. But yes.
I second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay? Any questions? Mr. Vice Chair?
No question. I was just ready for the vote.
Okay.
Comment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
It was my understanding when we voted on the money for each district that it's up to the district representatives to decide in which direction they want to use those funds. Myself personally, I had looked at doing mini parks throughout my district. So if Mr. Marshall really requested money to start on his building and he is denied, so do that also imply that as far as my mini parks go, it's the same same amount of money, so I won't be able to use my money for mini parks? Because he's asking to do his incrementally with the same amount of money that everyone was that's going to every district.
Mr. Brown?
Mr. Chairman, I think this is the reasoning behind us having not a study, but at least we need to sit down with our finance people and figure out exactly a game plan for us to move forward on. Now, we're sitting here talking about, in my opinion, shortchanging District 4 because of $87,000 building laying on the ground. And this set of estimates that we got just a few minutes ago that are $895,000. Community Senior Center building is $483,000 of that. Well, you already got the building, which is $87,000 of that, and that cuts that figure in half. But nobody's had time enough to sit down and look at this, or look at the true big figures of what we need to be doing. That we are, once again, instead of looking at something from a business standpoint and using the pen and pencil to tighten up as much as we can, we are just saying, do it. We don't need to just be doing it. We need to be spending money wisely. And in my case, I'm in favor of what Mr. Marshall wants. Western Fairfield needs a building. Western Fairfield needs a building that will actually be able to operate once it's built. Western Fairfield needs a building that is usable and is in the right location. If it's on 8.2 acres, I own 215 or in Blair, I don't care. I want it to serve as many people as we can serve. But, I mean, just one eraser or one pencil underlining that number right there, Mr. Marshall. That's $400,000 that subtracts from that number. That puts you almost in budget. Well, that's because nobody had an opportunity to even look at these figures. So why are we wanting to do something fast and haphazardly tonight? Once I know what the numbers are, I have no problem voting for it, going wherever you want to go. As long as it makes sense. Doing it tonight, I don't think you're representing, I'm not going to say if you represent your people or not. I'm just saying that I think we need to put pen to pencil to these numbers to see what we're realistically looking at before we vote on anything. That's my opinion.
Mr. Chairman, as Mr. Brown just said on budget, if you take that and put that building on the land and bring it to budget to 483,000, whatever, and plus I don't see the other thing, you have about $50,000 worth of timber probably on that property, or 40 or 50, maybe more. That can also be added on that. I don't see that that's on here. It might be. But for Mr. Brown to sit here and say we need to spend our money wisely, I think we have testimony here tonight that's contrary to popular belief.
Well, the only thing about that, Mr. Marshall, is all 7 of us vote every time we spend a dime. All 7 of us, not Mr. Brown or myself or you, but all 7 of us. Everything that's ever been spent from this council is spent from this podium right here. So, for whatever good that is, we've all 7 decided what to do as long as we've been on this council.
Well, there's a motion on the floor.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman, are we voting for Mr. Marshallia's money, which is his discretion to do what he wants? Why are we voting on that? This is your $500,000 to do what you like. Why do we have to vote on that?
Because it's council funded.
You're just gonna vote on the money that's already delegated to for his district? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, that's what we're gonna do my district or any district. I mean, that's what we got to do. Mr. Brown.
Mr. Chairman, now I know I've missed a meeting so lately, and I apologize for that. But I think I was here when we were talking about that bond, and I have missed everything since that bond reading. And I have not seen what Mr. Carter's lawyer has put in the bond telling us how each district gets to spend that money yet. I haven't seen it, so everybody else may have. And what the guidelines are. Is this going to be up to the individual council member? What's the true definition of recreation? You know, in my district, I might consider doing something for older people to use at the museum as far as genealogy. That's recreation to them. What are the guidelines that we can spend? I mean, are we just going to throw this out there for gymnasiums and baseball fields, and basketball courts and tennis courts? Or is it a wider range of use there? Because every district is different. And yet my district might have less need for one thing than something else. You know, I just like to see a guideline as far as, number one, how each council member is supposed to be spending that money. And number two, what are the guidelines as far as the different uses, as far as definition of recreation. Because my understanding, most bonds are pretty self-defined as far as what you can do with one and what you can't do with one. And I hadn't seen that. Mr. Carter's lawyer, can you answer that? If that's proper, yes, Mr. Carter.
I think I can be loud enough.
All right.
The simple answer is there are a couple of regulations that deal with how the money has to be spent. The first of those is federal income tax regulations. That should be relatively easy to meet. It has to be used for a public purpose and owned by the governmental entity. I don't envision that will be a problem if these are going to be publicly used recreational facilities. The only reason I mention that is really the first threshold in order to maintain the tax exempt status of the bonds. The second part of it is when describing what the projects would be to both the rating agencies and ultimately to the underwriter and the purchasers, it is described as recreation projects. There is no more specific definition of what that is. It was described as approximately a $3.5 million project fund that was anticipated to be spent equally within the 7 regions of the county or the 7 council districts. So that is effectively what has been described to the ultimate purchasers and the rating agencies with respect to the use. As a result of that, it really would be whatever the definition of recreation is within state law. And I apologize, but I'm not prepared to give you a definition of recreation under state law standard. Although I do think it's probably as broad, Mr. Brown, as you suggested.
So, I think we need to have another meeting, Mr. Chairman, to kind of determine what that is, to be honest with you. Or we can combine them.
Yeah. Well, we will set up another meeting at the, if this goes through or doesn't go through, we will set up another meeting toward the end of the week, either Wednesday or Thursday night. I know that, Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Marsharia, I've been standing here feeling terrible. You and I have had nothing but a very good relationship, and I thought you were attacking me for something in 2006 that I wasn't here for, but I truly apologize to my comment to you, and I hope that you will forgive me. I'm sorry.
No offense taken. I certainly didn't want to convey that to you. You've been a very good county employee. We have a good relationship, and if I was misunderstood, I certainly apologize to you.
I apologize. My apology. Don't apologize back. I'm glad for thank you.
Okay?
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes,
just say, by our own plans that we have here, County Comprehensive Plan 2021, we define recreation. The term recreation includes both activity and passive activity. An inventory of all public parks and recreation facilities located in the county are shown on table 25, and I just went over some of those things on page 25, all the way down that list. Basically, is nothing to be done. No improvement, no improvement, no improvement. It's not a plan for improvements on 98% of how we define recreation.
That's the existing plans, right? Existing parks.
Well, according to the book that we all agreed, that was the 10-year plan for Fairfield County.
Okay. Ready for the question?
Repeat the question, please.
The $500,000 that is allocated for District 4 is to be used to construct a building on the 8.2 acres of land.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed by nay.
Nay.
Okay. We will have another meeting either on Wednesday or Thursday, according to, I will ask Ms. Brown to let you know by the close of day tomorrow what day it will be. We've got some other things that we can deal with at the same, or we need to deal with at the same time, so that's what we'll do. And now down to number 12A. Do I have a motion for the JAG grant funds?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
would someone define what that vote motion, what exactly would this JAG thing do, and how the public benefit?
That was what Mr. Anderson told us about a while ago, but he can reiterate. Mr. Anderson, would you re-explain that JAG grant for us, please?
No problem. What the JAG grant does, it lets the Sheriff's Department apply for money to buy equipment. In this case, they are going to buy cameras when they get out of the cars, when they go into people's homes, or they're going to track different things that can actually record what they're doing for liability sake. And the JAG grant, the total amount for the cameras is around $11,000. The JAG grant pays about $10,000 some odd dollars. And the county, out of their budget, will only pay $383. So they're getting the majority of the money from the Department of Justice.
Okay, you all right, Mr. Musgrave? Okay. Do I have a motion? Okay. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed by the same sign. The ayes have it. We're now down to Mr. Anderson, County Administrator report.
Filling in for the county administrator, not the county administrator, let's put that out there. What we have tonight, y'all had asked for a update, a legal update on Chinook Drive, and I'm prepared to let Mr. Jack James give you his research on that. There's a few things the council had asked us to bring back and research, and that's one that we have to have tonight.
Okay, Mr. James?
Thank you, sir. In looking into this, according to our ordinance and also the state statute, the funds that are utilized by the County Transportation Committee are to be used at the discretion of the County Transportation Committee. And of course, the council doesn't appoint the members of the County Transportation Committee, nor is it serving as an oversight body for the Transportation Committee. So from what I've read and what I understand, we're not an appellate body for the decisions made by the County Transportation Committee, so there's really no jurisdiction to override any vote taken by the County Transportation Committee.
Okay. I think what the question was, though, Mr. James, was, is the road in question, can it be or should it be, if selected by the County Transportation Committee, is it legal for them to prepare and pave that road?
Well, according to what we've always done, prescriptive easement is how we've paved these roads in the past, and so we have used that mechanism, which means we've been maintaining these roads for at least a period of over 20 years, and so we have what's termed as a prescriptive easement to keep up the road and also pave the road, if not we, but the County Transportation Commission.
Okay. Council, any questions about that? There's been quite a bit of conversation about that road, so I'd like for everybody to be up diverse on it. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Anderson?
No, sir.
Okay. We're now down to Clerk of Council's report. Ms. Brown. Okay. We're now down to County Council time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would just like to tell the people that I have been kind of under the weather for the past 3 months, and I'm glad to be back tonight. I've been having radiation chemo treatments for a neck problem, and glad to see all y'all here, and glad to see y'all's participation. Thank you.
It's good to have you back, Mr. Brown. Mr. Vice Chair.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, I just want to thank everyone for coming out. And I know for you all to give up your time to come out, I've been right in those same seats that you're sitting in. Sometimes it takes your time. You have to do your homework before you come out. And I would tell you, especially to District 1 and to everyone in this county, the last couple months have been very different. I mean, I would tell you, I work on the private sector side. I work on the corporate side. Government is different. I mean, it is really different from the private sector side. The way you make decisions, what you say, the privacy that's involved. When you live in, I'm from Ridgeway, grew up in Ridgeway. You know people, you talk, but private means private to me. I don't discuss what we discuss in executive session. I keep it in executive session. Sometimes it seems like maybe we don't move fast enough. I have people in my district that helped me when I campaigned back in 2006 and was elected. One of the things I don't do is I don't take contributions. I run my own campaign. I want to feel like when I make a decision that I'm trying to make the right decision and the best decision that I possibly can for this county. And I do that for that reason, so I don't feel like I have to be swayed one way or the other. I've got good friends that are Democrats and Republicans. I think that's how it should be. I think you should be open-minded and be able to cross the aisle. I think you should be able to work with people from all backgrounds. It doesn't matter where you come from. But I would tell you that the last couple months have been challenging. I mean, I've got neighbors that I think tried to look out for my interests, my best interests, whether it's the county administrator and giving me information that I had not seen, and I thank them for that. I think I made a comment about this probably about a month ago, 2 weeks to a month ago, and now that it is in the open, I do want to say that the one thing I ask, and I don't care if I'm up here, I would tell you I don't think I'm better than anyone that's sitting down there in the audience. I've been down there, I've fought fights, I've been in those same seats, and I've fought just like you have. But I would tell you that when I make decisions, they're very methodical. I try to make sure I have all my facts. And the one thing that I've asked, and as it relates to the administrator, we've been talking about this and sending this out and how long it's been out there. A friend of mine shared that package with me. Then I got another package, and I want to know, had that information been verified? And I made the statement that I don't care if it was one of you all sitting in the chair, if it was me up here, that before I accuse or do whatever, regardless of what's floating around, I would hope that you verify that information, because I feel like I want to do that. I want to verify that information. And once I start looking, I continue to look. I mean, I really continue to look. I want to make sure that maybe there's some other things I need to look. This is the first time I can tell you as a representative for this county that I've been confronted with something like that. And I understand how upset you are. I mean, I do. I really do. I understand. It works totally different from the private side to the government side on how decisions are made. And it is very different. But I understand why you come. I understand why you've been coming for the last two months. And I can tell you from sitting out there, to me, that's what makes government work. Our people coming, looking, to make sure we're being transparent, to make sure we're being forthright with what we tell you and what we do. I can only speak for myself. There are 6 other people up here that represent 6 other districts, and we are all different. I'm sure we think differently. We make decisions differently. I'm a fact person. I've always been like that. I'm in the career that I'm in now. I'm a fact person. I believe in numbers and looking at numbers and making sure I have all my facts before I make a decision sometimes. Hindsight is 20/20. If I look back, and could we have made a decision faster, or a decision could have been made faster? Probably so. But I see someone that I've known. We've been out there in the audience and we've talked about these things. I just like to do my homework. I just like to do my homework. When someone gives me something, I like to dig and make sure I have all the information. And so this has been very different. But I ask that you continue to come out. I think that's what makes government works, whether you're Republican or Democrat. I normally try to look at the issues. I vote on the issues, what I think's right for the people, and I'm sure that won't be the first time, the first major challenge that we've had. I'm sure there'll be more. Hopefully, we will continue to try to work through these issues. I love living in Fairfield County. I mean, I grew up in Ridgeway. We've talked about everything from recreation tonight, and not having recreation facilities, community centers. I remember growing up as a kid and not having recreational facilities in Ridgeway. Things a little bit changed. A little bit different. I wouldn't do it now, but I remember having to hitchhike, to come to Winsboro and playing football and basketball and not having to ride home, getting all the way back down to Bellefield and Ridgeway. So I know what it's like, man. When we hear those things up here, whether it's from the western side or whether it's from Ridgeway or Greenbrier, we all kind of fight some of the same fights. I think we look at it differently, but I also want to make sure that when we start looking at this from a financial standpoint, I think Mr. Brown did a great job, and I'm so happy to see him back, and Ms. Robson. I also believe that we have to sit down. We have to make sure that we're doing things right. One of the things that we've learned, and you all are privy to this because we've talked about it, sometimes we're confronted with issues that may have already been out there, but they're not recognizing until you actually are confronted with them. Whether it's a moral clause in the contract, how things are handled, a lot of times as a county council representative, with all the ordinance that we've had and the bills that we've passed over the years, some of those things you heard tonight, even recreation, some of these things are done in, 5, 10, 15 years ago. And then as you approach them, you're confronted and you have to make decisions. The only thing I can say is, as a representative for this county, as you're confronted with those issues, you try to make good decisions and make sure that you don't repeat them going forward. Will that probably be the last issue we're confronted with? Probably not. But only thing I can say is just try to make a good decision as we go forward, so that we don't repeat some of these issues that we're dealing with today. But thanks again for coming out. I know it's been a difficult 2 to 3 months, but thanks for your time.
Ms. Mary Ann?
Well said, Mr. Perry. I would ditto everything he says. I don't want you to ever think that you sit out there and think we do not take our job seriously. I can tell you I take this job seriously. As I said before, I return all my calls, and a lot of you have said, well, why don't we just sit down and talk with you? Each one of you have a representative, and that representative is to be used when you have a concern or you have a problem. You pick up the phone. I had 2 gentlemen come by my house, sat on the porch yesterday to talk about another issue regarding the county. So you have to address it. I've owned 3 businesses in this county, and the one thing that I found serving on council, government moves slow. It really does. But you've got to do your homework because it is so important. You have to move slow with that. In business, you make a decision and you roll with it. That's what you got to do. But I still say this regarding Mr. Heinley's situation. I don't think all the facts are out yet. Some of these pictures have been passed around, still are not validated. And I would have a concern if I was some of them passing them around. Mr. Heinley had 40 years of administrative work in the with county government. He took a real hard slam. His family has been deeply hurt. And I feel very sorry for that. He made a mistake, but where's the forgiveness in our lives sometimes? The story of Stephen in the Bible, being stoned, I couldn't have thrown the first stone. We sin every day, whether it be word, deed, or actions, and I pray to my God every night that He forgives me of the sins I committed that day. And I think we all have to search our hearts. It was not something that came easy for the council to accept, but as Mr. Perry says, we have to have proof. We have to be sure that everything is done correctly, or try to be as correct as we can. Just a moment, I had made some notes. I don't think any of us up here insulate ourselves to county business. If we did, we shouldn't have run for this position. And I just ask your patience with us. I don't think there's anybody perfect in the room. We certainly are not. But we do listen and try to work with you as best we can on the issues. We have to deal with policies. We have to deal with ordinances. We have to deal with contracts. And we've learned from this situation that we had some problems with our contract. So that's going to be corrected. And sometimes in life you just have to live as you go and try to correct things as you go. One comment was made about some of the services in our county, like our EMS. I think we've got a very good EMS. As I said before, nobody's perfect. But when I call that EMS, I want to make sure they're there. Some counties still do not have an EMS. Some counties do not have a hospital. Some counties are not blessed with a lot of the amenities we have. We're not perfect, but we should be very grateful to SCANA for the money that comes in, because every one of us have those amenities that we enjoy using. I remember when the funeral home was the ambulance service here. So we've come a long way. But I ask you, still keep coming to our meetings and still keep working with us. Let us know your concerns, and hopefully we can all work together and get through these things. And I hope we can walk out of this room tonight as a business meeting and with no animosities. I would ask that we do that and just continue to work together for the betterment of Fairfield County. And just one comment, a lot of jabs have been made at the chairman. That's a hard job. That position was voted on by the 7 of us to keep order in our meetings and to kind of keep the agendas going, that kind of thing. He is no more vote than any of us. All of us have one vote on this council. So if you're upset with the council, you're upset with the council, not one particular person. We are a group and a team up here, and vice chairman and chairman are, you know, a lot of the joke is said they get paid the big bucks for it. But there's a lot of work that goes behind being vice chairman and being chairman. And when it affects your family, as it has with some of these situations, that goes deep. I ask that you put yourself in that position, and if your family had been hurt like some of these families have, it's a very serious issue. But I thank you, and may God bless us all in Fayetteville County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Kenny. One of the questions that came up the other night was, from Mr. Boozer, was the way executive sessions are explained. The legal staff for radio stations or the printed press or whatever have their interpretations. Councils or legal folks who we use have their interpretations. What I've done since this episode the other night is we've got a legal counsel from Columbia, and I asked him to look into this matter to make sure that we're doing everything we're supposed to do in the reporting out before we go into executive session, and we will do whatever their recommendations are. And I will tell you, we will give you all the information that we can give you, barring things that we can't tell you because of going into executive session. But that's where we are with that right now. And with that, one last thing that I would like to mention. One of the speakers who was up here was talking about the chairman had kept this thing with Mr. Heinley under wraps for 3.5 months. Council, I think you can verify, the SLED agents met with me on Friday, and I met with council on Monday night and brought it straight to them just the way it was presented to me. So the shot that I took from that podium a while ago, it was totally unjustified. I didn't hide this thing from anybody. I brought it 3 days after I got it on Friday. On Monday night, this council went into executive session and was apprised of everything I knew. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Welcome, Mr. Brown, back. It's nice to have a full complement for a change, and to have another voice up here. I guess I'm fortunate in representing District 2 because it has the most organized organization in this county. So I'm used to being kept on my toes. I get lots of emails, I get lots of phone calls, I get asked to come out and answer questions often. And for that I'm thankful. I tell my group all the time, I'll answer your question, and I don't know is an acceptable answer, but I'll try to find an answer for you. I always tell them the best I know how to answer those questions. That's only a portion of District 2. But I'm going to tell you, I am so grateful that y'all have come together and bonded as a group of citizens, because you have been sitting here firing those same kinds of remarks back to the whole council rather than just one or two of us. And I have no problem with that because you're keeping me continuously on my toes. There are times that I feel I have to represent District 2, and I always have to represent District 2. There are also times that we have to sit and look at what's best for 24,000 people instead of just one district. Because we have to take the money that's coming in from this entire county and look at the whole county and spend it that way. So, that said, please continue to fire back at us, give us questions, your response, your thoughts, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. I'm telling you that it has been a difficult 4 months, but after last Wednesday night, I honestly feel that the 7 of us are in a different position than we've been in a long time, because we had a tough meeting back there, and we fired back at each other with our thoughts. So I hope, if nothing else, we come out of this so that we can honestly say what we feel to each other, rather than sitting and talking about it after we get outside, and that we'll start doing what is best for 24,000 people in this county for a change. Thank you for your time.
Marshall?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I've heard the statements being fair to everyone. We got to look out for 24,000 people. And I've heard the expression in 24, 25 years, we're having no more than 24,000 people. This county, with all the, we are not a poor county. With all the money that we get here, just in the 10 years, $100 million. That includes all the other taxes that we get. If you go and see what areas or what districts, disproportionately other districts have gotten stuff other districts haven't. Okay, I don't think you can dispute that, because I get put you in the car and I'll ride you and I'll show you where some people roads are smooth as a baby face and other roads will tear your car. You can't deny that with all those services. And going back to $100 million, we're not a poor county. And I heard Ms. Kennedy say the government moves slow. She's been on the House bill as long as I've been here on council. Hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. We have voted almost every year for the House bill. Done no complaints about the budget and the money, and we can't spare stuff then. You know, certain people can get where they want because of their power relation. But Sam Cooke did say a change gonna come. And they might have voted down this tonight and talked about economics, but folks sitting here have gotten what they want while they've been on this council. Western Fairfield has been kicked to the ground once again, but we down, we will rise. We will rise and we will come back, and eventually, God willing, we will get our Senate despite all the stuff about looking for 24,000 people. If you're looking out for 24,000 people, how come you ain't looking out for my people in the last 10 or 15 years? So, I mean, I just wanted to say that in terms of different people. Each council member should know their own district, should know what their district require and need. You just should do that study and find out. I know what the 4th district need. And I've heard some of the members here said about Greenbrier. Greenbrier is 10, 15 minutes from a recreational center. We're 25, 35 minutes from a recreational center. And if you look at it a round trip, you're talking about well over an hour and maybe 60 miles compared to that community. And I agree, they do need something. But in terms of close proximity, they have access to recreational facilities that Western Fairfield don't have. So I'd hope that this county would be a little bit conciliatory about recreation. But if we're going to move the way we're going to move, I'm telling the public right now, there's going to be a whole lot of verbal volleyball when we get in here and start talking about budgets when you're all not around. Stalling tactics. We had that property for 20 years. Here we are again tonight. We can't do nothing. We knew budget was coming up. And returning phone calls, I've called you and Mr. Perry. What call you returned? Check the phone.
Today?
Yes, check the phone. And I've called Mr. Perry, I hadn't got him to call back. But I'm not going to get into all that. We're going to press on. We're going to continue to save for taxpayers' money. The taxpayers in these rural areas need to get some of that almost $100 million that went under the radar.
Mr. Marshall, I agree with you. If you look at all of the council, if you look at all 7 of the districts, I think you'll find that District 5 has got one small mini park in it, smallest mini park in the county. There's one in District 5. So when we start talking about who don't have and who's got, District 5 is in the don't haves, okay? So it's not just your district. It's not just your district.
Well, if I may comment, Mr. Chairman, it's what you wanted. You've been the chairman for 6 years or more. You didn't ask for any more, you didn't get any more, but whatever you asked for, I'm sure you got. So, if you don't have any more, now I've been fighting for something since I've been on council, I haven't got it. You hadn't been fighting for anything like that in that district. But we'll do whatever we can.
Motion to go into executive session for a contractual matter of proposed purchase of property, receive legal advice from our attorneys, and to talk about an economic development matter.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Let's have it.